Now, I didn't see the first season of Invincible when it came out. In fact, I saw it in early 2023 because I just wasn't interested in it. Another superhero parody world that isn't Marvel or DC just didn't interest me when it came out. However, when I watched the first season, I liked it. I didn't adore it the way everyone else did, but I did think it was good. I saw the potential in the themes and the characters and the story and where it was heading, so I was hoping this season would be the one that would make me go, wow, this is one of the best pieces of fiction ever made. I'm gonna be honest, it did not do that. Now, I'm going to say that I didn't find the season bad in any way, shape, or form. Just because I found it disappointing doesn't mean it's bad. It just didn't meet up to the expectations I had for it in many ways. It also didn't help that I read the comics, which had way more time to flesh everything out, and like you would expect, the book was better. Now, anyways, I'm going to start with the positives and then talk about what didn't work. Now, I think one of the best things about the story is that it follows the main narrative of the comic, but changes enough for it to be just something different. And it's not just by cutting things out that exactly change things, which I like quite a bit. For example, he doesn't exactly break up with Amber and then try to get with Eve right away. They break up, but he actually feels more sad, and then he feels kind of unmotivated, and then decides to get with Eve after her future self tells him to. There's also things I like that they cut out, like Amber meeting someone that isn't a superhero so they could have more of a functioning relationship, only for her to get abused by him and stay together for him. I thought that was just an unnecessary plotline. I'm glad they cut that out. Overall, for the most part, they did a great job changing things that needed to be changed. I also really love the animation and action scenes overall. Once again, they really stepped up with the animation. It's bloody, gruesome, and violent, which perfectly embodies the absolute ruthlessness of the show. I also thought they showed Rex's development really well. I would even debate better than the comics. It feels like they made it more fleshed out, if anything. Another thing that sounds really amazing, as you would expect, is the voice actors, because they're very impactful with scenes and lines that are supposed to be delivered so perfectly, such as Omni-Man saying he isn't supposed to feel this way, or Mark going insane in the desert after killing Armstrong Levy and saying how he thought he was way stronger. There's some very emotional and powerful moments done in these issues this season covered, and I think they were able to handle it incredibly well. Okay, now we're going to talk about the negatives. First off, why the hell is this season only 8 episodes? The first one was 12. Why can't it be 12 here? Especially since there was so much going on in the season, it would have been wrapped up way better if they gave us the amount of episodes the first season had. It also doesn't help that it's even more frustrating when they gave us episodes weekly and then took like a half a year break. Because not only did the hype die down, but it's harder to process the whole season this way. It's almost like you have to rewatch the episodes again just so you can understand everything to watch the second half. And most people aren't going to do that. I understand this isn't exactly an issue with the show itself, but in a way it kind of is, because it's harder to process the whole season as a whole when there's such a long break in between. Then there's another huge problem with them making the little amount of episodes it was, is that Conquest should have been the finale of this season, because part of the reason why Conquest coming right after the invasion is to show how tireless being a superhero is, that they are in constant battles and fights, and it almost feels like there's no light at the end of the tunnel, but also because it causes Mark to have to murder another person right after killing someone. It forces him in a hard situation to have to kill somebody, forcing to go down this path of murder and destruction, which is one of the best parts of Invincible I've read so far. However, you can't have that if Conquest doesn't fight right away. It feels less impactful for Mark to get this point of peace and comfort, because of the reason why he goes down this path later on is because he doesn't get any moments like this, any moments to breathe, any moments of romance or anything really good in his life. Also, another thing that frustrates me is this scene while Cecil is telling Mark he's not his dad. First of all, this scene feels very out of character for Cecil, because even in what's happened so far, you can tell he also fears he will become like his dad, so that doesn't make any sense at all. Also, I hate to say this again, but in the comics, it's handled way better, because first of all, it's said by Arthur, someone who was actually friends with Nolan, not just an agent for him or colleague, and knows him very well, but also because he says that that's not a bad thing to be someone like his dad. He says it's not a bad thing because his dad isn't a bad person. He's just someone who's confused about what he's supposed to be, since he was born on a planet of alien warmongers. He feels he's betrayed them by being a good sympathetic person. In a way, he doesn't defend Nolan's actions but explains why they are, and this is sort of when Mark realizes and sympathizes more with Nolan's situation. But now that Cecil said this, I guess he still is going to hate his dad, which means they're still going to hate each other fighting Thrag, or they'll just act like nothing happened, which is even worse way of handling it. Do you see the problem with this? It seems like a small change at first, but it actually becomes a detrimental problem to the story and the characters, causing the story to not feel as well written. Now, I'm not saying making it exactly like the comics would fix anything, because like I said before, I like some of the changes, but there's certain things in the story that don't need to be changed at all. Overall, I didn't hate the season. I actually quite liked it and thought it was really good. I just had some issues with the story, the way it was handled, and certain moments that affect the story. But overall, it was a solid season, and I'm excited for what's to come.